Now, you may be sitting there and thinking to yourself, man, this would be a great Saturday to walk the dog, take the kids to the park, do something for yourself, relax. Don't watch college football because the weekend's just not that crazy. I mean, yeah, I'll throw on the Alabama game at 2:30 and watch that, maybe sit around and munch on something, and then 6:30, yeah, we just got that, but I got that whole morning. I mean, we'll play golf. Maybe the Bama game won't be crazy. Maybe Miami will just kill FSU. Well, that's where you're wrong, buddy, because it's when college football is the most quietest before Saturday, when the loudest moves and the loudest upsets happen. Because it happened this time last year when Vanderbilt upset Alabama for the biggest game and biggest outcome of the season last year. So rain or shine, sleep from a sleepy Saturday or a superb Saturday like we had last week, doesn't matter what it's going to be, we're going to take it under review. Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Nick Watts, and welcome to another episode of College Football Under Review, a show made by a football fan for football fans everywhere. And this is our Week 6 preview episode. Subscribe to the channel if you have not yet. It helps us know that you enjoy the content and you want to be a part of the Under Review community. Now, with that out of the way, we are going to go over our top 4 games and then our other 5 notable games this weekend. We're going to give you the AP poll. We're going to give you our Heisman seat. And we're going to tell you probably one of the biggest comebacks someone has ever had in their career in football. So let's take college football under review. And the first thing we got to take under review, Saturday at 2:30 p.m., the newly ranked number 24 Virginia at Louisville. And if you think Virginia ranked, wow, I haven't seen that in a while. Yeah, no, we haven't seen that in a while. I saw a crazy stat this morning that was the last time that Vanderbilt and Virginia were both ranked inside the top 20 was 1947. Yeah, 1947. But we're not getting into that right now. We're getting into the Virginia at Louisville game. So Louisville, they're undefeated this season, and they have won every game at home this season, 3-0. And outside of that, when we look at both of these teams, both chef's kiss style of offenses, both are in top 25 in scoring. Virginia has the 4th best, and the Cardinals have the 24th best points per game this season. So it's going to be high scoring. It's going to be high flying. Both have great quarterbacks. Chandler Morris, he's a dog. And Miller Moss, he is a dog. Virginia per game is averaging about 540 yards per game in the season, and Louisville averages almost 140 less, sitting at 409 average yards per game. But the one crux and why I brought up the Louisville stat of why Louisville, and it makes so much sense that they are 3-0 at home. On the other side of the ball at Virginia, Virginia doesn't play well in these away games because they've gone 1 for 4 in their last 5 road games, which is not something that you want to have carry over after doing so well and defending your home so well so far this season. But I think going into this game for Virginia, Virginia cannot allow Louisville to get in the red zone because Louisville is tied with the 5th best red zone percentage when they get down the field and march down the field. But Virginia found a way to win against Florida State last week. Yet the Cavaliers, at the same time last season, were 4-1 at this time. Same record as they have now. How do you think they finished last season? Well, I'll tell you how they finished. They finished 5-7. 5 for 7. Can you believe that? But the huge edge, in my opinion, is that the Cavaliers have a strong run game, and the Cardinals have struggled severely in the run game and severely against Pitt last week, which wasn't a great showing. They had to come back, and I mean, it was a great comeback, but they won the turnover battle. And though I believe that the turnover factor is the biggest stat to look at in this game, and if Virginia is losing in this fourth quarter, it's because the Cardinals showed they're going to lose if they're in the fourth quarter, because the Cardinals are able to come back in the fourth quarter and have done so. And their offense, with that kind of pressure situation of having to run this 2-minute offense for the majority of the fourth quarter, they looked calm and they looked like they knew what they were doing. They didn't really falter much. They didn't have any drive-killing penalties, and their defense showed up when they needed it to. And I just I really like Miller Moss. I think if Saban wants you as your quarterback, then you're probably a good quarterback. And I think he is the better quarterback in this contest. He may not be beating like Chandler Morris like statistically, and Chandler Morris may be having more explosive plays, but I think Miller Moss just has the right arm, and he has the football IQ and confidence to stay in the pocket when it matters. And I think he's less prone to having bad throws, because Chandler Morris threw some bad interceptions against FSU last week, and that really just doesn't make me confident in how their quarterback play is. And I think that this Louisville team in the fourth quarter, with a chance, if you give them enough chances to, will find a win, especially if they have the final possession in this game. So give me the Louisville Cardinals to win at home, and then they will take that ranked spot away from Virginia and give it to themselves. I think Louisville is a sneaky team in the ACC, and this is the perfect game to prove it against these quote-unquote killers of the Knolls. But I think it was just a little bit of luck on their part. So give me Louisville in that game. And the other game, College Game Day, Saturday at 2:30 p.m., number 16 Vanderbilt at number 10 Alabama. I cannot believe that I'm saying those two words. Number 16 Vanderbilt at number 10 Alabama. Alabama is favored, I think, by around 2 touchdowns. But we have to acknowledge that the Vanderbilt program has exponentially increased in talent and competitive nature during last season, but only snowballed over into this season after the type of performance that they had the rest of the 2024 season after the Bama win. And Clark Lee, he's a great coach, and he looks like he is continuing to elevate this program. The Commodores have really showed this by dominating their group of 5 opponents and taking care of South Carolina. Yes, I know that Lenora Sellers kind of went out in the second half because of a targeting call, but they still just continued to move the ball downfield, convert third downs, and Diego Pavia just was great on his improvisation, scrambling, and moving the ball upfield. And speaking of Diego Pavia looks better than last season, and even Vegas agrees, because he has the 8th best odds currently to win the Heisman. And speaking on Vanderbilt last year and how they were able to beat Alabama last year. Last season, it was third downs that really ended the game against Bama, because they went 12 for 19. And you want to know how long they had the ball? 42 minutes. And they are around that same stat line, around 40 minutes per time of possession this season. And how did they accomplish that? Well, they do it so well by running the ball and giving different looks with Diego Pavia. And so they have a chance to do the same thing last season that Bama was not ready for. And it's that rushing attack because Alabama is currently 75th in the nation in their rush defense, allowing just too many yards. And Vanderbilt averages about 223 yards a game. And this is how they beat Alabama. They're going to rush, run down the clock, limit Alabama possessions for the Crimson Tide. And that it seems like that's the same strategy that they have this year. So I'm very interested to see how Kalen DeBoer kind of changes things up, how Cade Womack changes his game plan from that, because the Cade Womack looked really good in that Georgia game with his defense and how he had them. Yes, he had a bye week, so we always have to keep that in mind. But as good as this Vanderbilt offense has been this season, the defense is not in a good position statistically up to this point with the opponents that they have faced against in the past. And flipping it over to the Alabama side, the passing attack for them has been their bread and butter with their kind of pass-first offense. But it could bite them in the butt if they're not able to convert those first downs, if they are not able to move the ball downfield. And what has typically been the best way for Alabama to get the ball downfield, it's their rushing attack. And I think, and I'm going to continue to beat this dead horse as long as I have to and say the scariest stat for me, the scariest stat that has just defined the change between the guard of Saban and DeBoer is that Alabama is currently 108th in the nation in rushing yards per game. Yes, we just got Jam Miller back. Are we going to utilize him? Please. But the rushing attack just needs to show out, and it needs to be prevalent back in the Alabama offense, because if Ryan Grubb, the offense did fine last week, but we need Ryan Grubb's passing attack and Ty Simpson to continue to look perfect. And speaking of perfect, Ty Simpson needs to keep his perfect, squeaky clean turnover percentage of 0. And that goes for the whole offense. Alabama has 0 turnovers this season. And if they want a confident win at home, they need no turnovers, because last season when they lost to Vanderbilt, 2 turnovers, and that killed them. One of them was a crazy helmet bounce and pick 6, and I remember just saying that was the nail in the coffin. That was the kind of things maybe too out of control. But something that we finally have back in control is Jam Miller being back, and he's honestly, in the Georgia game, we saw he's kind of revitalized the explosive and elusivity that the backfield for this Alabama team is capable of with runs and the screen pass. The screen pass actually showed back up, and it showed like it was pretty good. And back to this Alabama passing attack, it's going to be the feature of the team this weekend because Vanderbilt has been so bad against the pass. So as we wrap this whole discussion into a little bow for the college game day, Alabama has been on the warpath, and this is the first revenge game they have of this season from the teams that they lost to last season. And all of them are at home. So this is the first one. And this team is a different beast when in Tuscaloosa. And last week against Georgia, this was the first time Kalen DeBoer has coached an Alabama team and has had less penalty yards than their opponent. So are they disciplined now? Are they disciplined and schematically sound on offense without the erotic nature of Jalen Milroe at center? I think so. And because of that, I think that's why Alabama will win this game and get their revenge against Vanderbilt. And whichever quarterback wins this game, it's only going to propel their Heisman odds. And I think Ty Simpson can propel his odds. Just don't throw any turnovers, man. Just don't do it. Just don't. Just simple as that. And then we get to honestly, one of the more fun games I think that we will see this week. And that's Saturday at 6 p.m. Number 11 Texas Tech is going to take on Willie Fritz's Houston team. And Willie and Wegman, man, they are attempting to take down number 11 Texas Tech in a in-state matchup because Texas Tech, they showed up against Utah and they cemented themselves as the team to beat in the Big 12, it seems like, this season. Both are undefeated going into this game, too, which is something always fun to see. It's a classic conference matchup, and hopefully it's a great one that doesn't disappoint. But one thing that may disappoint Texas Tech fans is that their starting quarterback who went out in the Utah game, Bryn Morton, their starting quarterback, is back from his concussion protocol. I may have had a concussion right there, not being able to get that word out. But head coach McGuire hinted that the backup Hammond could still get some playing time in this game. So it'll be interesting to see. It's almost like this Ole Miss type deal that we're seeing right now, where Austin Simmons was leading. He was doing well, but he wasn't doing anything crazy. And then Trinidad Chambliss came in. Trinidad Chambliss, it's just a fun name, came in, and he's been dominant. And that's what Hammond looked like against Utah. So I'm very interested to see and watch this game. If things get a little shaky with Morton, that they don't say, hey, Hammond, go in there and show us what you can do again. And if he can do it again, he might just take this starting job. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. The Texas Tech offense has been dominant all season, with 5 of their receivers getting 200 receiving yards already through 4 games, which is crazy. And their defense has only allowed a total of 45 points this season. The $28 million investment, it's working out. It's working out. And Houston, under head coach Willie Fritz, has gone 4-0 so far on the season. And that is the first time in almost a decade, 2016, that this team has been able to do that. I like Willie Fritz. I think he's a great coach on the rise, little old, so I think he will probably stay at Houston, and no one else will try and get him. But who doesn't want to coach in Texas at this point in this era that we see? Because like I've said time and time again, they just got more money in Texas. Everything's bigger in Texas. And speaking of Texas, this Houston defense is the 7th best team in limiting opponent pass yards per game, which is Texas Tech's favorite thing to do. And though they have yet to play someone that does have such a good pass attack as Texas Tech. So it'll be interesting if that stat gets blown up or not, because it really could be the downfall or the saving grace for the Houston team in this game. But they are nothing short of amazing when it comes to coming back and winning. Oregon State game last week, I was watching that, and it was a fun game. I was rooting for Houston the whole time. I think I will probably root for Houston in this game, but because Willie Fritz really does have this team and this program going in the right direction after kind of they fell off 2 years ago, and they can be a much better team next year. Yet, and this is because the Texas Tech team looks so primed to overwhelm this defense and light up the strong and use the strong passing attack to weaken that defense that Houston has statistically been able to utilize. So give me the Red Raiders taking over Houston and winning. It's 28 million. 28 million, baby. What are you going to do about it? And then Saturday, what everyone thought was going to be college game day at 6:30 p.m., number 3 Miami at number 18 Florida State. This is the first meeting since 2016 where both teams are ranked. And how good is Mario Cristobal ranked against ranked opponents? Well, he's 2 for 7 against ranked opponents. And although it's not a nice stat towards his way, what's pretty crazy about this too is that this is Miami's first road game this season. And the FSU team is not in crisis mode, but they're a desperate team, and you don't want to be going up against a desperate team. And they really need to have a comeback game against the Canes because that Virginia loss just hurt them so much. If Alabama did not beat Georgia, things were about to look really bad for FSU. But how did FSU lose? Castellanos was throwing 2 picks. And FSU, even after that loss, still touts one of the best offenses in points per game and total offense, and have gotten over 500 offensive yards for the Noles in their last 3 games. So, what does the Miami defense have to say about this? Well, I think this is the type of opponent, this is the type of game why Mario Cristobal went and got defensive coordinator Corey Heatherman from Minnesota, who has the defense at Miami only allowing 11.5 points per game and under 250 offensive yards allowed. Their defense is phenomenal. Their defense is doing great against top-ranked teams. Their defense is doing great against the run and stopping opponents on third down. The Miami offense, too. I mean, oh my gosh. They have the ability to put a clinic against anyone, especially this FSU defense, who gave up 440 pass yards against for Virginia. And Mike Norvell, he isn't the greatest when going against Carson Beck. Because when was the last time that he faced off against Carson Beck? Oh, yeah. That was when he lost 63-3 in the Orange Bowl. Now, the Hurricanes are coming off of a bye week. They have a consistent offense, and the defense is by far the best in the ACC, which is too much for the Noles, who are reeling after a wild loss. And I think things are only going to get worse. Thomas Castellanos. I was thinking about the we're in baseball World Series talk postseason right now, so I'm thinking Nick Castellanos, not Thomas Castellanos. That's my bad. But Thomas Castellanos, it was about mid-season when at Boston College, things kind of fell through, and what happened? He got benched. And I don't think that he's ready for this Noles, this Hurricane defense. So give me Miami in this game. And now, moving on to our notable games. On Saturday, 11 a.m., Wisconsin at number 20, Michigan. Both teams are coming off a bye, but I think one team still looks more dominant, even both of them coming off the bye week, and that's Michigan. The Michigan offense has allowed Bryce Underwood to slowly develop as their run game under Justice Haynes has been humming, averaging about 254 average rush yards a game. And this Wisconsin defense has a chance to limit this run, having one of the best run defenses, as it has only allowed an average of 50 yards per game. So it seems like Bryce Underwood is going to be tested in this game and see if he can do better, almost mimicking the Oklahoma game. But what's the difference between that? He already played the Oklahoma game. He's already developed. And who did they get back? Head coach Sherrone Moore. Sherrone Moore is back. He will be coaching this weekend. So that's good news for the team. That's good news for Bryce as well. And when we're looking at Bryce Underwood, he's only completed about 56.9 of his passes this season, and why he needs to develop so much. But I will say the good thing is that he has only had one turnover this season. That's pretty darn good as a true freshman quarterback trying to take over one of the biggest blue blood programs in college football. There's a lot of pressure on you, but he is handling it well. And I'm going to say it again, Michigan fans, you should only be excited for what the future beholds with Bryce Underwood, because he is probably going to be a Heisman contender his junior year, and you better pray that he doesn't like whatever NFL team that he is projected to get, so he stays another year for college ball. And then when we look at Wisconsin, the most abysmal part of this team outside of Luke Fickell trying to think he can change the offense and the dynamics of the program, it's this offensive line. This offensive line for Wisconsin is the complete opposite from their defensive line. They are about as injured as they are inexperienced up to this point. Almost every game they've had to roll out a different offensive line starting in that game. They've got injuries and their depth just is not looking good. And this will not help their offense whatsoever against the Wolverine defense, who is one of the best defenses when it comes to quarterback pressures and quarterback sacks this season. And it's also because Wisconsin just doesn't seem like they can do anything on offense. Their defense is allowing just passing around. And I think Michigan gets another sound win at home and have the possibility, because when we start, I was looking at this game and I was like, yeah, I think Michigan's going to win. I'm curious to look at their schedule. Their schedule's not that hard. They honestly, if they beat Ohio State at the end of the year and they go 10-2, they could easily get a backdoor move into the playoffs. Just some food for thought as you're listening to the show and you're thinking about the season further is, how can they do it? How can they sneak into the playoffs? Well, there's just a chance they might. We're saying it right here. We said it now. So write it down, put it on a piece of paper, do whatever. But one game that you would think at the beginning of the season, I wrote down on a sheet of paper, this is going to be a great game. This is going to be 2 top 10 teams in the nation. This is going to be an electric game. And that game is not as electric as we thought it would be, but the programs and the logos are forced to make it electric. And that's Saturday at 2:30 p.m., number 9 Texas at Florida. And one stat that I think will hold up after this game is that the Longhorns are actually undefeated all time against the Gators. Technically, they have a tie, but they're 3-0-1 tie. And speaking of Texas as a whole, Texas has been questionable in the eyes of football fans as they haven't looked as good as they could be on offense. But I think the media will still do everything they can to not look wrong about Texas. Arch has slowly gotten better, a lot better, exactly, in my opinion, since the Ohio State game. But that's because they've been able to play mid-major opponents, and this is the beginning of their SEC schedule. And so we're really going to see how they handle this Florida defense, because the Florida defense is good. As much as the offense stinks, this Florida defense is great. And the Texas defense, they've been playing to the level everyone expected them to play, with the second best defense against scoring. And when it comes to scoring, Florida hasn't been doing that well in that category. I was looking at their stats, and DJ Lagway, this Heisman favorite, this savior of the swamp, if you will. I like that ring to it. Well, he's a false prophet down there, because currently he has more interceptions than touchdowns. So that should tell you how Florida fans are doing this season. And the defense, for Texas will be too much for the Florida Gators, as both of the Florida Gators' offensive outings against Miami and LSU was dumpster fires of games statistically and offensively, more unproductive than I don't know, someone trying to take a dump and they're constipated. That's how bad this Florida offense is, because Florida fans just look mad. They're red in the face. And I think it's because they know that Florida might be saving some money. It seems that Florida is saving money every week while they continue to lose these football games. So do they truly believe in Billy, or are they trying to not break the bank so the next coach has a bigger purse for the team and the program does not crumble? Because we're starting to see this new trend. And my overall thought about college football has kind of come into my mind with this entire situation with Billy Napier. And it seems like in this new era of college football, what is the program killer? Not the coach, the money. The money is the program killer. They are sitting there biting their tongue that saying, yes, we got the wrong coach, but I think they are sitting down, they are planning their next move, and they are going to have a great coaching hire come up, and they're going to save as much money as they can before they get there. So give me Texas just absolutely stomping on the Gators in the swamp. And hopefully Arch gets his swagger back. And more or less, not for our Heisman take, but for just the Texas fans and the Manning family. But our next game, Saturday at 2:30 p.m., Washington at Maryland. And Maryland, they're undefeated. They are 4-0 coming into this game. But don't let the record fool you, because their toughest game to this point has been Wisconsin. And one stat, though, that could carry over is their dominant quarterback rushing attack for Maryland. And that is, right now, they're looking about having 16 sacks on the season with 8 interceptions to complement that. So yeah, this defense has shown a lot better than we thought they were going to be in our Big Ten preview. But that was against weak opponents. And you still may say, well, if they're against weak opponents, why does that matter? Well, I'll say it because of this. Washington quarterback DeMond Williams already has 12 sacks on the season, and really has a bad tendency to hold on to the ball for too long, not throw it out of bounds, check it down, or anything, and will just take dumb sack plays. So this Maryland defense could really just overwhelm them, and it could just be a bad day for the Washington offense. But we know that the Washington offense is able to play well. Even though, the Ohio State loss probably showed their weaknesses and they've shown up. And this Maryland team is just so much better on the defensive side. Though all of these, I think Washington also lost. 2 of their best defensive players got injured last week. I did have Washington to win this game, but give me the Terrapins to actually come out and defend their home turf and win in this big game and go 5-0. That's right, I just changed my mind. And it seems like every time I do change my mind, they lose. So don't lose, Maryland. Please don't. And then Saturday at 3 p.m., Michigan State at Nebraska. Both of these teams are coming off a bye and a solid loss to good teams before said bye. So both have been hard at work. The Nebraska run defense has been allowing over 170 yards per game, sitting around 108th in the nation. And the rushing offense hasn't been effective, sitting around 86th in the nation. The Nebraska defense won't face the craziest rushing attack from running backs, but the Michigan State quarterback, Aiden Childs, who has the scrambling ability to make explosive plays and possibly give trouble against this Nebraska defense. And if you thought Nebraska was bad on the run, well, Michigan State has not been able to stop their opponent's pass game. And must we not forget that Dylan Raiola commands the Huskers offense that averages over 300 pass yards a game. I think that this game is going to be explosive and a shootout, but I have to go with the third-year rule and pick the Cornhuskers to win this game. It's just the third-year rule, man. He does great in his third year. I don't know what it is. It's some magic about him, so that's why I'm picking him ultimately. I just got a gut feeling. And then our last notable game, Saturday at 6:30 p.m., Mississippi State at number 6, Texas A&M. And I will say before we go into all of my notes on this game, Texas A&M, it's about, they're in dangerous waters because every time, and I mean every time, they start getting highly ranked, they start beating these teams slowly and slowly, they start building up a resume, they start sitting back and going, I mean, this is what I'm talking about. We're Texas A&M. We got the money. We've got the stadium. We've got the atmosphere. We got everything. So let's just go out there and win. But you somehow just find ways to lose. This is the exact time when Texas A&M loses a game that they shouldn't, and the whole season just implodes. And there's no scarier opponent to implode against than a Mississippi Bulldog team that's just not a bottom feeder team anymore. But they're here to give everyone a tough game for a full 60 minutes. This will be Mississippi State's first road game since week 1, and we will see if the team will travel better than they did, giving up so many penalties against Southern Miss, and how they fare in the SEC in Kyle Field, because Kyle Field is one of the toughest environments to play in. The quarterbacks in this matchup have almost identical stats and are equally established as great fits within both offensive schemes. But Texas A&M has shown us that they are going to be able to win on the last drive of the game and have a great defense after not allowing Auburn to convert on a single third down last week. And on the season, just on third downs as a whole, opponents have a success rate of 24%. 24%. I think Mississippi State is a great team, but I think Blake Shapen gets into too many quarterback pressure situations that force third and longs. And I'm going to say that Texas A&M, as much as I think that this is a game that they 100% can implode on, and I think that Mississippi State will take it to the very end of the game like they have against everyone, I think that Texas A&M will just have another solid win towards their positive season. And I just think that this Aggie defense is too high-powered for them, and it's going to be different than something they have faced yet. The Tennessee defense is great, but I think the Texas A&M defense is just on another level, especially with Mike Elko as the head coach. So give me the Aggies to take down the Bulldogs. And so that wraps up our game previews. But this is what I have to bring up. Some of the other news and thoughts that we have, because we'll get to our AP poll and maybe some other cleanup items that we have to do. But I got to talk about a comeback kid in Arkansas. Arkansas, after their loss to Notre Dame, fired Sam Pittman. And we mentioned this in our week 5 recap episode. But if you don't know this already, his replacement is who we are discussing. The interim coach for the Razorbacks the rest of this season is none other than former Arkansas coach in 2012 and former offensive coordinator on the team from Saturday's game, Bobby Petrino. And if you do not know the lore behind Bobby, let me take you back in time to 2012 when he had a 4-year tenure at Arkansas, going 34 wins, 17 losses. And in those final 2 seasons, he had Arkansas going 10-3 and 11-2. And in that 11-2, those 2 losses were to Alabama and LSU, both playing for a national championship. This guy had everything going for him. He had the Tyson family eating that chicken happy, and he finished ranked number 5 in both major polls at the end of 2012. So what led to the downfall? Well, he decided to go on a nice bike ride, but fell off and was sent to the hospital. And then later it came out that he wasn't the only one on the motorcycle, but him and a former volleyball player he hired into the football program and was currently having an affair that was uncovered between them, which led to his firing. So, skip forward, where Sam Pittman 2 years ago hired him as his offensive coordinator and jumped to now where he is the interim head coach. And as their coaching search continues, he has expressed he would like to be the full-time coach. And if you don't think that this is serious or the school's taking this seriously, he's already fired third-year defensive coordinator Travis Williams and 2 other defensive assistants. He is starting to clean house. Things are getting messy. This is like a regime change like no other when it comes to... I took politics in college. This is classic regime change. He is kicking out anyone that is not loyal to him, and he's going to fill it with all the guys that are loyal to him. And I think he might find a way to come back and be the Arkansas Razorbacks head coach. Something I just had to bring up, the news, the story, and I just sat here just laughing, thinking, I cannot believe this guy has done it. So, yes, Bobby Petrino, he's back, baby. He is back. Okay, now, outside of that little fun synopsis on Arkansas football, let's get into our takes on the absolutely preposterous poll that the AP has put out. So I think I had Miami as my number 1 team after the fog of war for weeks 1 through 4, but I kind of have to agree with the AP poll that Ohio State should be number 1, as they seem like they're slowly separating from everyone until we see them play someone like a Penn State later in the season. So I'm kind of okay with that. I think that they got that one right. And last episode in the recap, I said I was on the Lane train, but I don't think that the Lane train should be top 5 in the AP poll. They are currently sitting at number 4, and yes, they beat LSU. But who did LSU beat? Clemson? Florida? I mean, those teams are terrible. They haven't beaten anyone, speaking on LSU's behalf, and LSU is currently in the top 25. So I think Ole Miss deserves a top 10, but I don't think that they deserve the number 4 spot for that game and how they played, because they gave LSU a lot of chances to come back and win. So Lane train, I'm here for it, but I just don't think that they should be worth the number 4 spot. And I think Florida State should thank their lucky stars that Alabama beat Georgia, because I think it's the only reason they are still in this AP poll and the reason that Virginia got in the AP poll. Because if Alabama didn't win, Alabama would be out, Florida State would probably be out, and Virginia would probably not be in it as well. And speaking of the kind of 16 through 20 range, I think Missouri, sitting at 19, should get some more love and move up to 16 and push Vanderbilt, Georgia Tech, and Florida State all back 1. So Vanderbilt would be 17, Georgia Tech 18, and the Seminoles at 19, because they are doing really well. And I think that this Missouri team has done very exceeded expectations, and I think that they are a great contender for the future. I think Arizona, and this is a small gripe, Virginia and Arizona State should just switch, because I would pick Arizona State to beat Virginia in a matchup about 9 out of 10 times. So that's just my thoughts on the AP poll. Probably put Illinois above Notre Dame. Why are we still giving Notre Dame this much love? Illinois has one loss and has shown a lot more fight this season than Notre Dame. Yes, Notre Dame has lost to 2 of the top 10 AP poll teams, but they're still 2-2. So, I mean, I just don't understand why they should be all the way up there. And then let's take a look at some of the Heisman betting odds, because it's looking very interesting. And I think the feeling of a quarterback winning the Heisman is being more and more of a good take for the show. So Dante Moore for Oregon currently is plus 750 on the odds. Carson Beck at Miami is plus 900. Jeremiah Smith, wide receiver, plus 1,000. Ty Simpson tied with Smith at plus 1,000. And then Fernando Mendoza and Joey Aguilar. Mendoza, Indiana quarterback, Aguilar, the Tennessee quarterback, both sitting at plus 1,300. And quarterback at Texas A&M, Marcel Reed, quarterback Diego Pavier at Vanderbilt, and quarterback Trinidad Chambliss at Ole Miss, all are at plus 1,500. And then Julian Sayin sitting at the 10th best odds, plus 1,700. And I think the biggest jump that any of these guys have had is Diego Pavier. He started out the betting odds at plus 12,500. I think that Dante Moore is looking very good in the Heisman seat up top after his performance against Oregon. Carson Beck statistically isn't quite there yet, but he's played better teams than anyone else out of these guys. Jeremiah Smith, I think he still needs to perform more. I don't think that the current track he's on, he'll be able to sustain the amount of statistical depth and media hype that these other quarterbacks will get. So he needs to up the production, and I don't think that's going to happen with this Ohio State offense that doesn't seem like they're doing anything to reinvent the wheel. Ty Simpson, Alabama has a tough schedule, so if Ty Simpson can manage that schedule and continue to not throw a turnover, I think he's going to be one of the top 3 up there. I know you just may say homebody, but Ty Simpson's looked great, and so I just had to say that. Fernando Mendoza, he's still lighting up other defenses, but their first 3 games of the schedule have kind of stat padded him in that way. And then the other quarterbacks, Joey Aguilar, Marcel Reed, Diego Pavier, Trinidad Chambliss, and Julian Sayin, I think these guys are all going to play catch up. If they lose 1 or 2 games, I think it really hurts their credibility. Trinidad, it's pretty wild that he's already up here, because he didn't even play. He hasn't played a full season yet. And he's already in the top 10. So it'd be really interesting to see if he finishes out the season and how his stats actually look compared to everyone else's. But yeah, I think right now it's between Dante Moore and Fernando Mendoza. Just when we look at the raw stats, Dante Moore has 74.6 completion percentage, 1,332 total yards, 14 touchdowns, 1 interception. And Fernando Mendoza at Indiana, 73 completion percentage, 310 total yards, 18 touchdowns, and 1 interception. But who does the media love, and who do we have in our Heisman hype seat going into this weekend? It's none other than your betting odds favorite, Dante Moore. So Dante Moore, he's in our Heisman hype seat, and I'm excited to see what he can do. I think that he'll continue to be there. We'll see how Carson Beck does, and if he does better or worse in the FSU game. Carson Beck's just below 1,000, so we'll see if he can't break it or not. Sunday, we will have our recap episode for week 6. Thank you all for watching. I'm Nick Watts, and thank you for tuning into this episode of College Football Under Review, and we'll see you next time when we take more college football under review.